Alrighty, now we are on the third part of the Friday the 13th characters ranked 143 to 116. These are the numbers we're going through in this ranking. So even the people in this video haven't cracked the top 100. But there's 200 characters, so that's not the worst thing, really. But they're on the bottom half of the list still. We're not even halfway by the end of this. So, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna start right in here with 143. Robin from the 7th movie. There's two people named Robin in the franchise. One's from the 5th, and one is from the 7th. And the one from the 7th gets yeeted out a window and hits the ground. And she's part of the Robin and Maddie are friends, and they want to get with David, and Robin's the one that gets with David, and it makes Maddie jealous, and it gives her this whole arc, if you want to call it that, where she basically takes her glasses off and puts makeup on, even though I'm pretty sure she was already wearing makeup. Whatever. Yeah, no, so that's that character, and then she's fine, but she's not memorable as far as, like, comparatively. She's relatively not memorable. She's memorable, but other characters are more memorable. How many times? Drink every time I say memorable. 142. We have Amanda from the 7th movie, which is Tina's mom, Mrs. Shepherd. Bad Taste in Men. Her husband's the one that was a beater, and she allows Dr. Cruz to fuck with her daughter. Not, ew. No, like, mess with her mind and elicit traumatic emotions and all that fun stuff. So, basically, she lets the doctor trigger her daughter. She doesn't know that's what he's doing, granted. She seems like a nice mom overall, but she's, again, not memorable as relatively to the other characters. Like, I like her, but she's not one of the ones that pop out to me, you know? She's not one of the most relatable characters. She's not one of the most funny characters, but she's nice. And I thought her death was fucked up. Like, I don't know how many characters have, like had their mom die and then had to continue on, because with Tommy Jarvis and Trish, their mom was, like, missing. She was dead, but there was no confirmation that she was dead until after Jason was dead. And it was all settled down. But Tina had to actually deal with it and then continue the fight. So that's, you know, I don't know. There's something for that, but at the same time, you know, she's places there. 141 is Azrael. Dude, I forgot my arm. That guy's funny as hell. I don't care who you are. That guy's funny. That guy's great. I love Azrael. Really funny. But he's kind of a nothing character. He dies really early. He doesn't have as much screen time as the other characters. But what he does get is really funny. He's just a typical stupid stoner. At 140, we have Lawrence. And Lawrence is the guy that gets hit in the back with an axe in Friday the 13th, the remake. He seems like a good guy. He's the only one that really seems to give a shit about Chewie when the shit goes down. He goes out to rescue his friend. Very admirable, but he's also doesn't do a lot outside of that moment, really, besides just be there, be stoned, and say a couple things. He's not the most memorable character, but yeah, moving on. Up next is another remake character, Whitney, the final girl, who's, I don't know, she's not the most entertaining character in this movie. She really doesn't do a lot. She's just kind of captured for most of the movie. And her character isn't having fun like the others, so she's not as fun to watch as a result of that. So, yeah, No. She's not ranked that highly. Her relationship with Clay is really the only thing that's uh really gonna keep her very high in this list, because other than that, she doesn't have a lot going for her. We know that her mom was sick and all that, but that's a pretty generic storyline. And I'm sorry, I'm just, she's not very high on this list. And number 138 up next, and this is again very important that you recognize what I'm saying here. Once, if okay, say there's a character like Jason, right, who's had like 20 people play Jason, right, including all the kids, the possessed people, people that, like, movies where he was played by two people and one of them was in one scene, all that kind of stuff. When it comes to those people, I completely loop them together in this list with an exception. The remake versions of characters are not ranked the same as the other versions of those characters, because it's a completely different timeline. If I did a Halloween character ranking, which God forbid I'm probably not going to do, but if I ever did, Michael would show up like 5 times or whatever because of all the timelines. Jason is showing up twice, and Mrs. Voorhees is showing up twice because of the remake. And Jason and Mrs. Voorhees, well, more so Jason because it doesn't really apply to Mrs. Voorhees as much, but Jason, all the performances of all the Jason actors and all the storylines of all the movies are taken into account under one banner, Jason. And that goes for Mrs. Voorhees as her in the first movie, and she's got parts in the second movie, but really it's only the first movie because she's dead in the second movie. It's a whole thing. But the point is, the remake versions are separate, and that is why Mrs. Voorhees Remake Edition is next at 138. Because it's a watered down version. I'm pissed that we didn't get a full remake of just Mrs. Voorhees stuff. So pissed, in fact, that I'm writing a Mrs. Voorhees fan film right now. But yeah, I love this character, and so it pisses me off that she's only in one scene, and it's just the beheading, and she's up this high for icon status, but at the same time, it's a different timeline, and it's just a watered down, poor version of Mrs. Voorhees, and I don't like it. 137 is Blake, a Freddy vs. Jason character, and he's the guy that uses his dad's head as a human shield. He's kind of douchey. His best friend is like the second to last placement on a Friday the 13th character list, so he's this high because he's way less of a douche. He's more of an idiot. And I like his last scene where he's like dealing with his friend's death and like threatening the killer and all that. And then he just gets then he just like fucking I love it. The whole fucking thing where he gets freaked out by Freddy and then Jason kills him, and it's just a whole fun blast. I love Freddy vs. Jason. 136 is Heather from Freddy vs. Jason, who's the imaginary character that I include in the death ranking and in the character ranking, even though she's imaginary, just because she shows her tits to the camera within the first 5 minutes of the movie. And it is glorious. She's stabbed against a tree. We don't know a lot about her, but we know that she's horny. And, that's fun. She's this high on the list because I've been watching Freddy vs. Jason as long as I can remember. It came out when I was 3. And I don't remember life without it. So, and I've seen it every year of my life at least twice. That's not an exaggeration. And probably most of the time a lot more than twice. So, that opening with her tits is so iconic to me. I have to put her this high. At 135, we have Nick, the final guy from Friday the 13th, Part 7, who is pretty bland. He's kind of memorable. The most memorable thing about him to me is hearing that, like, on the set, because he and Kane had worked on The Hills Have Eyes 2, or no, The Hills Have Eyes Part 2, the 80s one. uh, one of them, it was just thinking in the moment of like him, Kane, the scene, and yelled the character's name from Hills Have Eyes Part 2, and they both had a like moment where they're like, hey. And I like that. That background story's fun. That has nothing to do with the character's ranking though, because the character's not that great. I mean, I don't. The Part 7 characters are all kind of around the same areas. Like, there's some really bad ones, there's some okay ones. There's only one that really made it high, and it's pretty fucking obvious who that would be, but we're not there yet. Nick is fine. He's very stereotypical, the fucking guy next door, like fucking the straight man to everyone else's ridiculous comedy. All that fucking shit. And, that's not the most interesting character, obviously. You want the fucking crazy people and all that stuff. He's not that fun, and he's part of the ending of Friday the 13th 7, and I notoriously fucking hate the ending of the video cut out right when I was saying I hate the ending of Friday 7. Whatever. And now we have 134, Sandra from Part 7. And her boyfriend Russell was a lot lower on this list because he was bland, nothing, bitching about everyone at his party. She's the boyfriend of that guy. The girl that gets drowned skinny dipping in Part 7. She's a bitch. Like, when he asks, when did you fall in love with me? And she's like, when I saw the giant, enormous size of your beautiful wallet. Like, come on. That's not a way to make me like a character. She's entertaining. That line's pretty funny. I like that she goes skinny dipping. But other than that, she's not going to make it very high on this list. 133 is Ben. And Ben is the black guy in Friday 7. And I am pissed that his death got MPAA fucking butchered. Fucking, I hate it. I hate it. Because Ben's death in the uncut version, where it's squished down to all the fucking way and all the blood comes out, is one of the best kills, bar none, of the franchise ever, period. But the way it's cut, it's so tame comparatively, and it's just so pisses me off. But the character's pretty nice. Him and his girlfriend are having an argument. Clearly, she thinks he did something wrong, but the movie never bothers to tell us what he did, so for all I know, he could have, done something minor, or he could have done something major. We don't fucking know. But the characters in 7, apart from a couple, don't have as much depth. They're just kind of there having fun party dynamics without having, an arc. And, that's no real slight on the movie. It's still really badass and fun. It's got other things going for it. Tina and Mrs. Shepherd and Cruz are so developed that the teens just kind of need to be teens. It's not like a complaint, but I'm just saying, with the character ranking, a lot of the teens in that movie, partiers, are not going to rank as high as others because they're just there. And at 132, we have Kate, his girlfriend, party horn. Same vein. We vaguely know that she's in an argument with Ben. Clearly he's in the wrong because she's pissed at him for something he did. He doesn't understand what he did, but he must have done something, and we don't know what it is. And, honestly, if I had one thing I would change, it would be the ending of the movie. But if I had two things, I would want to know what the fuck their argument was about. I think that the dad coming back at the end is just insulting to the concepts of Friday the 13th, because he's an abusive parent. And if you think of Mrs. Voorhees' psychosis through the lens of Jason's deficient mind across the lake, knowing that she's doing all this because she thinks he's dead, killing all these people, not understanding what's going on, and then she dies, and then he learns from her mistakes and carries on that curse, ravaging the next generation, only for Tommy to finally put a stop to him, and then Tommy carrying that evil, but then working through it and finally breaking that in himself and being good. Then Jason is still there. You know? And that's fine. You know, the story was completed. Continue with Jason, have fun. But the villain arc, as it is interpreted through what I just said, having an abusive dad pop up at the end of the movie to defeat Jason and be the final hero is the dumbest fucking shit they could have done. That's this dog here, Snoopy. It's the dumbest shit they could have done. And it just pisses me off. It just pisses me off. Number 131, Maddie. And I like Maddie. She's, I already talked about her earlier. She's the makeover chick. The girl who, her and Robin wanted to get with Dave in part 7. So, she's a much more nice person. She's very friendly with Tina, who not a lot of people are in that party. She's naive. She's better than the other characters I've listed so far in that movie because she's more relatable and likable. But she still just kind of has... She has an actual arc, but her arc is so cliche 80s bullshit where it's like, oh, she put on makeup and she took off her glasses. But then she died. So maybe they're saying, you know, keep your glasses on so you can see and don't worry about what people think of you. Maybe that's what they're going for. But then again, everyone dies in Friday the 13th, and a lot of times the message is whack as fuck. Like, don't have fun. I don't know. But up next is 130, and that's Jane. And it's weird because she's in one scene with William Butler earlier in the movie. And she doesn't... And the only reason she's ranked as high is because she set up the whole party. Like, it's her boyfriend Michael's birthday, and she gets all of his friends, his cousin, and they're all at this cabin up in Russell's cabin, and she set the whole thing up, and she has a surprise party for him, and she's with him, and they get fucking fucked over, and, like, she's pissed that he can't come to the party, and that's so fucking awesome of her, but then she dies. That's about it. There's not a lot to her character. In fact, some people would be shocked to see her up this high anyway, just because of that. You'd think she'd be right with Michael, but I don't know. Just like the whole like body count wouldn't have happened without her setting up this party and pushing for this to happen. So, gotta thank her. And of course, because she set this up and got everyone killed, she dies first. Speaking of dying first, at 129 and 128, we got Claudette and Barry, the first two kills in the first movie. Claudette is lower than Barry, but they're interchangeable, kind of. He's only higher because he has more to say and do before he dies, and because her attempts to escape were kind of piss poor. I mean, throwing a cardboard box wasn't going to work. But I do love these characters. It's very classic, iconic. It's very nostalgic for me, particularly. I love these characters, but there's not a lot to them. I mean, Claudette's like, do the other girls kiss as good as I do? And he's like, how should I know? And that's really the most we get out of, like, knowing their dynamic. I do have these two characters in my fan film more fleshed out, and I changed their fates, but they still die. Spoilers. But because I assume that these are the two that were watching Jason when he drowned. Or that we're supposed to be watching Jason when he drowned. Otherwise, why are they the only two that Mrs. Voorhees kills in the 50s? Obviously, it's their fault. And I wanted to flesh that out in my script. If that sounds interesting to you, I don't know how you can pay me for that, but it's a fan film, so I can't really accept that much money anyway. I'll figure it out. Or I won't. Number 127, Amanda. The second Amanda we've talked about. This one's from the remake. She gets roasted in a fucking sleeping bag. Those tits. Sorry. Just the fact that she's so chill that she's gonna take off her fucking, like, she's gonna expose her breasts in front of her boyfriend while his friends over here doesn't even notice, and just do that whole thing. It's so fun, and like, it's just, it works, you know? It's funny, and it's sexy, and it's awesome. And you know, I can't lie, attractiveness is going to play a part in some of these rankings. That's just what it is, man. 126, we got Mike. And Mike is Whitney's boyfriend. Remake. Also from the same beginning scene with the roasting. He's the guy that gets stabbed with the machete a bunch and then ripped through the floor. He seemed nice, caring, you know, he cared about her troubles, but he was still having fun with the guys and not, like, being sulking the whole time, which makes sense why Whitney was like that. It makes her more developed, it just makes her less fun. But Mike was still having fun with everyone while he was also consoling her, and that dynamic fleshes him out a bit more, but again, he dies really quickly. But I like the character. We're already in characters that I like, and we have like 120 some odd to go. So that's just to say, and we've hit characters I liked a long time ago. So that's just to say, like, I love Friday the 13th characters. I think they get a bad rep. Because the thing about them is, it's just horny, stoned young adults trying to find themselves and having fun. And that's relatable. It doesn't have to be Nightmare on Elm Street where they all have this individual, like, in-depth psychology to themselves that is established and works its way into the way Freddy fucks with them. You know? I like Freddy characters more because of that. But you cannot say Friday the 13th characters are not fun and great to watch. And, like, there's some depth to these fucking people. And some of it has to do with the way they react to a bloody situation, and some of it just has to do with how fun they are. God. Sorry, I get passionate about my movies, man. 125, we have Dave, the other guy in that three-way. They could have settled it with a three-way. It would have been better for all of them, but the guy, Robin, and Maddie were swooning over. He was just a guy who was always getting drunk and stoned. I mean, who the fuck does that? But, you know, he's just, I don't know, he's relatable. Fuck off. He's funny. Like, I like the way, like, he's coughing on the beer, and that makes her think of Michael's death. Again, great. I love William Butler. But then you have just the like, what a dumb place to put a lamp, and just these small moments of just stupid fun. But it can't put him much higher because he's just a stoner who's there. Again, he's like, he has funny lines, but I've pretty much said all of them by now. Like Columbian Express, on its way, boom. Like, he's funny on screen, but he has very little screen time. And you don't get to know him very well because he's just a stone goofball the whole time, and by the time he finds out there's fucked up shit happening, it's too late. He dead. So, yeah, can't go much higher. 124, we have Deckhand, Discount Ralph. And now I'm pissed that I didn't put the eyeball guy from 3 on this list. I should have, but I didn't. I'm sorry. I don't know where he would go. It's too late. But this is the guy in Part 8 who's basically a discount old Ralph. So, yeah. And I imagine that guy with the eyeball would have wound up somewhere around this area, too. Because he's not Ralph. But he's this high because he's fun, it's funny, it's the end of the Paramount era, so it's nice to have that callback to the first movie. It feels like it's a completion of an arc before you get on to the next 4 movies in your marathon, if you're like me and you don't skip any of them, because why would you do that? Unless it's Halloween. I'm sorry, I didn't skip any of them last time I marathoned them. I'm fucking partially joking, but just watch my Halloween ranking, and then if you feel pissed, you can comment on that. but don't comment on this about that. Or you can go to my Halloween ranking and comment mean shit on it without watching it. That's fine too. Because I know you're going to. But, what was I talking about? Deckhand. Yeah, he's just there. Part 8 characters are miss, hit. You know, there's like very few Part 8 characters that are very high on this list at all. And in fact, I think a lot of the next few are from that movie. But that's where I gotta put him, because he's Discount Ralph. Up next is 123, Jim Miller. And I have to say his last name because I can't say Jim from Part 8 because there's 2 fucking Jims from Part 8. And as you already know because of the last video that had the other Jim from Part 8. But this is Jim Miller, who's the fucking guy that dies first in the movie. But he's the reason that Jason has his mask back, axe, wound, and all, because he's such a fan of serial murderers that he has a mask of a serial murderer. And he took his girlfriend with said mask of serial murder to the location that dude does his murderings to pull a fucking dumb prank. And it's kind of funny. And that's why he's so high. And he has the whole fucking spiel about Jason's origin, which again, beginning with that spiel, capping off the Paramount era before they move on to the New Line era. It's good. It's good. 122, we got Miles. Miles is the diver guy who gets thrown onto the antennas. And he's really a nothing character, and I don't, like, he's just this high because I like his kill, and he's there and not annoying. I don't know. Maybe he's too high, but that's where he landed. And up next we have Lo, who is the teacher from Jason X. He's one of the only characters left in the video that's not from Manhattan. And guess what the other character is from? Also Jason X. But Lo is, he's funny, but he's also a creep. Like, he's having his student twist his nipple with a fucking clamp so that she could pass. That's weird. He's also a complete idiot who gets everyone killed by trying to preserve Jason and keep him alive for these fucking people, for money. So he's an asshole. He's a complete piece of shit. He deserved to die. But he's really funny. Like, guys, he just wanted his machete back. Like, the nipple clamp scene. Really funny. It's really funny, and that's why he's so high. But he's also a piece of shit. At 120, we got Wayne. And Wayne is the guy with the glasses and the camera in Part 8. And he's more relatable because he's a film nerd. And he has a better, like, arc. He actually interacts with people and has, like, a storyline going on before he dies. And he has an emotional scene where he finds his friend before he dies. He also has a really funny scene where he shoots an innocent bystander. And I like his death. And his death kind of starts the events of, like, fucking burning down the whole boat, which is intense and cool. So yeah, I really like that character. 119, we got Charles, the dickhead teacher from Jason Takes Manhattan. He is funny. I love his scenes with Tamara where she's, like, trying to seduce him, and he's like, I'm your teacher. And, you know, a lot of people try and teach their kids how to swim like that, you know? How's he supposed to know she's hallucinating kid Jasons all the time? I fucking hate that plot line. I fucking hate her hallucinations of kid Jason. It pisses me off so fucking much. But, you know, whatever. That's not this character. He is funny. He's a dick that you understand why he's a dick. It all works, you know? It all works. I like him. I think he's funny, and I like the way he interacts with people. I like that, like, once he thinks they're, like, doing drugs or something, he's just, like, make sure that they give their final exam or whatever, or they won't go on to New York. So, like, he's not gonna, like, expel them, even though that's what I'm pretty sure he knows what they're doing. But he's going to give them he's gonna make sure that they've passed their school stuff so they don't fuck up on the streets. He gives a shit about his students. But when the shit goes down, he's alert. He's making smart decisions. I love it when Sean makes dumb decisions and he calls him out. It's like, do you think dropping an anchor in the storm makes any sense whatsoever? Like, I like that he's clear-headed. He's trying to make sure everyone survives through this. He gets a bad rep. He's a dick, but I think he was a good dick. He was a good dick. Fuck. 118, we got Colleen, the other teacher in that movie. She was nice. She was a nicer human being as a teacher. She cared more about his niece, it seemed. I mean, obviously he cared more, but like she showed more care. And I think it's funny that she dies in a car explosion, even though Jason's right there. Like, it shows that, like, death can come from anywhere at any time, and you shouldn't just expect it to be some fucking hockey mask serial killer in the woods or in a town. City, whatever. Fuck off. But yeah, no. She's up this high because she's nice. She gave her that pen, and it's pretty cool. I think it was a Stephen King pen. That's pretty fucking cool, actually. Awesome. But that's where she lands. Up next, 117, Rennie, the final girl from Part 8. And I have so much boiling hatred talking about this character because of the kid Jason hallucinations. But if you just take that aside and you say, okay, it's not like she's deciding that, it's just there. Like, I don't know. I fucking hate that so much, because if we're gonna take, like, the only way to me that Jason died in the 50s is if Part 2 onward didn't happen. It was just Part 1, the original standalone movie. Nothing else happened, right? Jason's dead. But when you have Part 2, then you are saying that Jason survived his encounter with the water and lived on the other side of the woods for that whole time. At no point in time was he dead as a kid. Therefore, her seeing Ghost Jason Kidd at any point as a kid didn't make any fucking sense, no matter what year it is, even if she was a kid in the 50s, which she wasn't. So, I hate that. I hate that they're trying to tie her with Jason for some fucking reason. They don't need to do that. It doesn't need to happen. They can flesh her out in a better way. Her being an aquaphobe in the first place works without the Jason element. It would have connected them in some way, because Jason drowned. Even if he didn't die when he drowned, he still drowned. I've almost drowned. Fucking hate water. I've waterboarded myself to get over it. And trust me, it's not fun, but I can handle it for a while. But yeah, no. But the way she interacts with other characters, her politeness, the way she reacts to things, the way she fights back or doesn't in some cases, like with the junkies, all that stuff. I like her character outside of that really fucking bad plot hole with the fucking dream Jasons that she sees that don't even look like Kid Jason. And you're right, I should calm down. .116 is Janessa. Janessa is the funniest character from Jason X, but not the most likable character from Jason X. She has all the best lines. This sucks on so many levels. Like, that line sucks on so many levels. The context sucks. It sucks on so many levels. It's genius. It's so fucking I love Jason X, and it's towards the bottom of my ranking. So I love these movies. But she doesn't rank very higher because she ranks here. But she's so funny. Fucking hilarious. She's also really rude and condescending, though. And that does knock her some points. But that's it. That's the end of the Friday the 13th character ranking part 3. We'll go into part 4. Yeah, that was 143 through 116. And yeah, we got that out of the way. We're fucking getting there, man. The next one will get us to the halfway point. So that's good. Like, subscribe, all that bullshit. Yada yada.